God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Stick and rudder pilot who ever lived. Chuck Yeager, quote, "the greatest pilot I ever saw." He's friends with Lindbergh, Rickenbacker, Doolittle, Jackie Cochran, Yuri Gagarin, and many, many more. He met Wilbur Wright. He is the most respected and admired airshow pilot by his peers.
Time with the nose gradually going downhill. I started an approach to the Muroc Dry Lake bed 35 miles out. And each of my two pilot friends, test pilot friends, one on one wing and one on the other with a good separation. And they kept begging me to get out, and while I could, and I said, I am committed to saving this airplane. And so I was about 150 feet up, I guess, and one of the two pilots, they were both later killed. It was Joe Lynch, and a great fighter pilot. And Joe said, "Bob, we begged you to get out. You don't have a chance. Do you know how fast you're going?" I said, "Yes, Joe. Last time I looked at it, it was 240, and I guess I'm a little above that now." He said that we only did the spin test, and you were with me when we did the drop test in the lab, and dropped the airplane with the wheels spinning up to 210 knots. And the landing gear broke when the wheels touched down. What they do is spin them up and then drop the whole airplane weight right down on the wheels, on the concrete like this. And you talk about an enormous noise in a laboratory. That's noisy with this airplane at max gross. Well, I thought, well, it's going to be over with real quick. But I want to tell you something that most people don't realize. That's a 35-degree sweep on the wing back instead of being straight out. When you get down, we call it ground effect, you get a certain height above the runway, that ground effect cushions. And even though I had a fairly steep rate of descent, as soon as it slowed down, it cushioned itself out. I'm half sitting there, remember, no control, nothing. And I chopped the throttle as soon as the wheels touched. I rolled 11 miles on that dry lake. And I had the engines at idle power, and of course I used the speed brakes and the flaps when I got the speed low enough to have them extend, and I thought, well, I may as well just taxi up on the base. Taxi's okay. So I taxied it right up in front of base operations. And a dear friend by the name of Jack Ridley, another test pilot, who was on the X1 program with Chuck and myself as our engineer, and one of the best you've ever heard of, and smart as a whip. He was trained by Von
Stick of
Carman,
demons, Rick.
Stick
of demons.
And he came out and he had a smoke
That's
on
the guy.
and had this drawl. He said, that's the hairiest flight I've ever listened to. And I said, well, Jack, they already put a ladder up for me to climb down. I said, climb up the ladder and feel these controls. And he came up and he grabbed the stick and couldn't move it. He said, my God, what happened? I said, well, that's the way it's been since the gear came up. He said, what's all that blood all over your hand? And I hadn't even noticed it. And I looked down and I'd pushed so hard, and yet I knew I wasn't connected to anything, but that frozen stick kept coming back to me. Push that stick. And I separated the skin between my thumb and index finger. Just a minor thing, but it shows you, even though you know everything that's going on, you sometimes still react to old things that are stuck up here from your early days. It was a very successful. Find out all we had to do was make two separate systems, because the normal and the emergency systems went in the same electrical junction box, and it shorted out both of them. And we redesigned just by putting two separate junction boxes, and we had the most beautiful airplane in the world. I've got to tell you one simple thing afterwards. After all of that yell and bail out, they had forgotten to pull the pin, and I couldn't, the protection seat wouldn't have worked anymore.
While we're talking about the F86